Well, welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College, right here in Middletown, Connecticut. And joining me today is Nancy Dolan. And I know Nancy because she's the manager of our campus bookstore. But she has another whole dimension to her life, which is related to the Special Olympics. So I thought it would be great if we could get together and introduce this whole program to the listeners in the radio audience, and then talk a little bit about why you decided it was so important you wanted to use your volunteer time to support it. So first, what is it? What's the Special Olympics program you work with?
Oh, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me today. Special Olympics is a program I think people probably associate it with Eunice Kennedy Shriver. Started in her backyard, I believe, in 1968. I had always followed it. I had heard about the games that they had in Connecticut some years back. They were in New Haven. Crossed my mind, didn't really do anything about volunteering. But a couple years later, I was working at Mitchell College, and somebody that I worked there with had just taken over a program in the town of Groton, and she had passed out a memo around campus and was looking for volunteers, and this was in 1991. And the first sport I did was track and field, which at that time I knew absolutely nothing about because I had never done track and field. But that's the great thing about the Connecticut Special Olympics program is they do provide training for all the coaches.
So were you coaching?
Yes, that's how I started out.
Wow.
As a coach. I was the head coach of the track and field team, or athletics as it's also known. And it was races, race walks, softball throw, and eventually I learned how to throw a shot, and I demonstrated shot put, and we had athletes who did that.
How heavy is a shot?
To be honest, I don't remember. It's been some years. But
very heavy.
Heavy, yeah.
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 And you could actually toss it more than a foot.
Well, they showed me the traditional way where you do a twirl and then throw. But a very good friend of mine who I got involved in the program, who had done it in college, said, I can show you a modified way of doing it. And he showed me a maneuver of a 1, 2, 3 and just throw. We got rid of the twirl. And that seemed to work with the athletes much better. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's an historical root to that sport, but it's a little hard to fathom in this day and age. When I lived in St. Paul, Minnesota, we were down the road from McAllister College, which has a Scottish tradition, and they had an annual Scottish fair at which they threw, I don't know if you can actually call it throw. They would have like 20-foot long tree trunks that they would loft into the air, and then they probably had a twirl. No doubt they were wearing kilts, and then they tossed it. To what end? I don't know, but yeah. So as a coach, what age were you coaching for this track and field?
In the program, you have to be at least 8 years old. So, but our athletes go anywhere from that age to the mid 70s. So yeah.
The age of mid 70s. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Very young these days, 70. So, all right, when we come back, I want to hear more about the specifics of the actual individuals who participate in Special Olympics. So we'll take a really quick break, and welcome back to Middlesex Moments Radio Show. Today, I'm so lucky to have Nancy Dolan joining me because I'm learning all about her other life as a coach for the Special Olympics in Groton, Connecticut. And also learning about Special Olympics, because you're right. My recollection was that Eunice Kennedy Shriver started it. Then I haven't really, stayed tuned. So it's an opportunity for me to learn from you about the extent of the program, the numbers of sports, the ages of the individuals. So you just finished coaching. There was a Special Olympics event, right? Can you tell? It's Southern Connecticut?
Right. It was, yes. The event was June 6th through June 8th, Southern Connecticut.
It's done once a year?
Once a year, summer games.
Oh, summer games.
That's
okay.
what it's called.
Are there winter games?
Yes, there's winter games too. Yeah.
Wow.
At usually the end of February, beginning of March.
So this whole thing is obviously based on the Olympics, if you're doing summer and winter games.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the summer games, you were coaching tennis. What was it like,
right.
And who were your players?
Well, I did tennis, and I actually was also called a partner. So I was partnered with a special athlete, and we played doubles. His name is Neil, and we actually got a silver medal at the games.
Congratulations.
Thank you. One of the things that goes along with it is that you're sort of mentoring your partner. So I spent, the weekend, I made sure Neil was at any event that he needed to be at. We have what they called a Healthy Athletes Village, and I took Neil over there. That is something that's really great, where they actually have stations where the athletes can go to get their hearing checked, their feet, there's dental checkup, and also eye which is done by the Lions Club.
Oh, good.
And it was interesting because, as I waited for Neil to go through the different stations to get his eye checked, I talked to a few people that would come up to me and ask me if I needed anything. And we would get talking, and I would mention where I worked, and immediately they asked me if I knew Ray Dennis. So there's another connection right there. But anyway, for Neil, he only had one pair of glasses. So he got his eyes checked, and when we were done, he will get a second pair of glasses, and they'll be sent to him in a couple of weeks. And was really interesting, too, because the eye doctor that was there was actually my eye doctor from Waterford. So so you do keep reconnecting with people all over the place. It's amazing how many people volunteer with this program.
Does a tennis team have a sponsor, or does Neil have a sponsor?
The tennis team,
work?
ESPN runs the venue, and they bring many, many volunteers. They have real USTA tennis officials to do the scoring. ESPN applies the line judges, people to run around and pick up the balls, people to cheer you on. They're there for the medal ceremony, so there's a lot of support.
Are you a tennis player anyway?
Yes, I played tennis in high school and hadn't played in college a little bit, but hadn't played much in many years. And one of the great things about this program is I've done a lot of different sports, and sometimes after many years you think, oh, I need a change, just like our athletes decide that they want to do something else. So probably about 12 or 13 years ago, I moved away from, I was doing master sports, which had bocce, and I decided to try tennis again. So I picked up a racket, and things worked out. I was comfortable playing. I didn't think I was going to embarrass myself, and certainly wanted to help my partner. So I started playing again, and the other thing that improved is the equipment is much better too.
Oh, the rackets are so much lighter.
So my playing was acceptable.
That's good.
So anyway, I started playing.
How do the players who are members of the Special Olympic teams, do they get uniforms and shoes? You were saying he's getting glasses. So these are expensive things in the end.
Well, the uniforms are generally by our town program for the event, and we collect them again, and we maintain them and give them out. They always get T-shirts. There's lots of T-shirts that they get to keep. But
and footwear?
Most of that is supplied themselves. Our program director, though, is aware that we may have athletes who are on their own. Many of them have jobs that, I think when you go to Stop and Shop, you'll see baggers there. Around the New London area, they're on cleaning crews, hotels, the Coast Guard Academy, Connecticut College, places like that. So they may not have the funds. So we're kind of aware. There's a lot of fundraising done. So if somebody needs something that they don't have, there's usually money there to make sure that they're supplied with what they need.
That's wonderful. So is this a program that goes year-round?
Yes.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, so now the tennis has ended. I have a 2-week break, and the last week of June I will start a golf program. And that's actually where I'm the head coach. I kind of call myself the administrator, because I make sure that we have the driving range, the golf course, the practice balls, make sure everybody has equipment, make sure they know where they're supposed to be. And then I also do all the paperwork for the registration for the games, and those games will happen the second weekend of September. So,
how do people know that the Special Olympics exists? And how does somebody who is a special needs person, I guess, how do they find you and find out that? And how do they pick a sport?
Well, since I'm part of the Groton program, the Special Olympics program is an offshoot of the Groton Special Recreation Program. So many of these athletes were part of a recreation program run on Thursday nights for 2 hours. I think part of the idea was to give caretakers, family members respite. So there were arts and crafts, there were games. And eventually the Special Olympics program was brought into that. So, we have people that are part of this program that don't necessarily do Special Olympics. So on Thursday nights when we're practicing different sports, we do have an arts and crafts room. So people have something to do for those 2 hours.
And what are the winter sports? Are you involved in winter sports?
Yes, we have the winter sports are floor hockey, cross-country skiing, and snowshoeing. The programs that our program does. There's also skating and downhill skiing, but we don't have those particular ones in our area.
And do you participate in one of those three?
I have done snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. So, and many years ago, floor hockey, but I felt like I aged out of that one. I was a little more physical than
right.
than I wanted to be.
So, can you describe the kind of training they give you? Because honestly, I mean, did you snowshoe before?
No, I had never snowshoed before.
To me, it looks like you strap a tennis racket on your feet and head into the woods.
It's kind of like that. Yeah.
And is there a point?
And it's hard. I have to tell you something. It's hard in Groton because we don't get a lot of snow.
Oh.
I kind of done it on icy, muddy fields, or we've done a lot of times in the wintertime. We've had to do a lot of walking, just kind of a strength training. And there have been years that we didn't actually get on snow until we got to the games.
So in the instance where you're doing snowshoeing, how many people were in your team?
Probably 6, 8, maybe 10 at the max.
Yeah, but that's a number of people to manage and get to know and help out. And teach the fine points of snowshoeing, which is, there must be
and going out
points.
in the cold weather. I think sometimes that puts people off. I think, and that's the great thing about the program is if the athlete decides maybe walking around in the cold at night isn't really for me, there's a floor hockey program that they can go into that's in a warmer gym, and they can do that. Or if they prefer a team sport, we're there with a group of friends or acquaintances. Yeah, because some of the sports are more individual and others are more team.
Mm-hmm. So in Groton, it's through the Parks and Rec Department?
Yes.
Yes. So, and do you do fundraisers throughout the year, or how do you keep it all going?
Yes, actually, we had a tennis tournament in May. So, not a tennis tournament, a golf tournament in May. Mm-hmm. And we raised money. That's been an annual event for many years now.
And so does the city must contribute some money too?
To be honest, I don't know about all the funding that they get. But I think some grants are written. There's different sources. Some money is gotten from the state. So when
you come together, like you did at Southern, was it more than just tennis that happened at the Summer Olympics?
Yeah, there was tennis, soccer, cycling, swimming, the 4 big ones I can think of off the top of my head.
And what's the
and track and field. How could I forget that?
Oh, there you go. So the competition is actually town against town, or you were telling me earlier there's a tri-town, Middletown, Meriden, Wallingford. So.
Right. There's all different areas, individual towns, areas. So the whole state was there for this. I can't tell you the exact figure, but there were thousands there.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we stayed in the dorms at Southern.
Oh, well, we have to talk more about that. But once again, we have to take a break. The time is going by way too quickly. So we'll step away for a quick break, and we'll be right back talking about special... Well, welcome back to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex, and today I'm talking with Nancy Dolan, who is the world president of our Follett bookstore. She's the bookstore manager here at the college. Everybody knows Nancy. It's great that she's joining me today because we're talking about the Special Olympics, and I just don't know very much about them. So you were saying thousands of people?
Thousands of people attend the summer games, yeah. That's probably the highest, well, definitely the highest attended of all the games.
And stay in the dormitories? Were you staying in the dorms?
Yes.
And having dinners at night, or what are the days like?
The days are up early. Make sure everybody's up and dressed and shower if they need to, unless they did it the night before. Then we're off to breakfast, and the Special Olympics has devised using the parking garage at Southern for our meals. And they have, the parking garage is closed, so we use the bottom level, and they put big round tables in and lines and more volunteers serving food, and we actually have our breakfast and dinner there. Lunches are served actually at the venue with sandwiches, usually. Lots of fresh fruit, water stations everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So healthy food. And your competitions are occurring on Southern's track and Southern's tennis
courts. Right. Just the soccer, that's going on at Hampden Hall Country Day School in Hampden, but pretty much everything else is on the Southern campus. Yeah.
It must be very uplifting to see
it
happen.
It is.
Are you able to see other events other than the ones you're actually participating in?
I did get a chance to go over to see track and field. I guess my curiosity of having done that years ago, and I wanted to see where it was going, and there were many, many more people there than when I did it back in the early 90s. So.
Were they putting the shot, as they say?
Yes, and they have some other show. They have like a type of javelin throw. It's something that's modified, so no one would get hurt, but like a motor javelin or something like that. And they still do a softball throw.
What about high jump? Do they do the high jump?
Yes. Matter of fact, I saw a sign for pentathlon, which I didn't realize that they had athletes doing that, but yes.
Yeah. And the other one is, I feel like it's hop, skip, and jump, but it was this is bringing back to me my high school field day.
Oh, long jump, short
jump.
jump.
Yes, the long jump.
All of that, yes.
I don't know how you learn how to do that either.
Yeah.
I just sort of...
I never had to coach that, but they have relays.
Oh.
Yeah, and wheelchair races.
And is there an entering, the beginning ceremony of the Olympics?
Oh, big opening ceremony on Friday night.
And what's that like?
Well, the stands are filled with athletes, friends, family. Generally, some members of each team are chosen to walk on the track and hold the banner of their team. The biggest part, I think, that gets everybody the most excited is that they bring the torch in.
So there's a torch, an
Yes,
Olympic torch?
because I don't know if you saw in the paper, but a few days before, there's an actual torch run that goes around the state.
No.
And the law enforcement torch run, and it's the officers from the different police departments. And they move the torch around the state and actually an athlete gets to run a small segment with a law enforcement officer next to them, and they run the torch, and then they hand it off, and they keep doing all these segments. And you can look at usually in your local paper to see when it's coming through your city or town. But it culminates on that night in the dark when the torches run into the stadium, and the large torch is lit. The cauldron is lit, and that starts the ceremony. And then generally there is an athlete up there who says the Olympic oath, which is "Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt." And everybody gets up in the stadium and repeats the oath, and the game's open.
That's wonderful. So I would think participating in the Special Olympics for everyone, the coaches and the volunteers and certainly the athletes, it must change your view of the big Olympics, watching the best athletes from the world compete in all those various sports. It's thrilling to me, and I'm not an athlete, and I don't participate in anything, but for them to have, what you're saying is they're participating in essentially the same experience by having these opening ceremonies and closing ceremonies and medals.
Well, and for me, I always like to think that I get so much more out of it than I could ever possibly put in. I know the athletes appreciate that we're there, but I don't know. I feel like it doesn't measure to the satisfaction that I get out of it. So, yeah.
That's the beautiful part of volunteerism. Yeah. So what are you going to be doing in the next couple of months with Special Olympics?
So as I said, I'm getting ready to start golf in a couple of weeks.
And do you teach them all because I don't know how to play golf either. So what club to use and how to stand and
work on that and safety, and remember to look around and make sure that there isn't anybody in your backswing, and courtesy. I mean, there's a lot of courtesy that goes with golf, such as remembering to be quiet when somebody else is getting ready to hit when you're out on the course.
The hush, yes.
Yeah. Also, too, I didn't mention the part that many of the sports we also have a skills portion. So, particularly in golf, where it may be an athlete's first year and they're not ready to go out on the course, we have what's called a skills program, where they'll learn how to do different golf shots, a drive, long putt, short putt, pitch, chip, an iron shot, and then they can actually go to the games and demonstrate those shots. And then those that we feel are ready to go out on the course and who can understand the etiquette and when to use what shot where and so on, then they get to play out on the course probably the next year or the year after.
Do you find that the athletes that you work with like to play golf?
Yeah, I think that's it's a complicated sport. So yeah, I think you really have to like what you're doing in order to do it. And we've had many athletes who have moved from skills to playing. And it's another instance where there is a unified component to golf, where we have athletes that they do what's called an alternate shot tournament. So we play 9 holes, and what will happen is on the first hole the athlete will tee off, and then the partner will hit the next shot, and it will go back and forth until the ball is holed out. So, and then on the next hole, then the partners start.
Sure, like collaborative golfing.
Yes,
Yeah.
until the 9 holes are finished. Yeah. So that's good, because then, well, if you've ever played golf, or when you look at the professionals who play golf who actually have caddies, it's kind of nice that, the caddies do give the pros an advice. Well, having the partner there also helps the athlete.
Do they actually carry the bag? Do you walk?
No,
Does anybody walk on a golf course anymore?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Unless you have a special need that you have to have a cart.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they like you to walk, because that's part of the exercise too. You usually have a pull cart, so you're not carrying the bag on your back.
Do you ever volunteer at the Travelers or any of these big golf tournaments?
I never have, but I have friends that do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they really enjoy it. They find that very exciting.
It must be. I've been in groups where they've been recruiting volunteers, and it sounds like a lot of fun. But on the other hand, I assume if you volunteer, they station you somewhere, so you don't really get to see the whole thing. I'm always torn between wanting to see it close up, like a baseball game,
Mm-hmm.
and watching it on television, because you can kind of see it better, and you can see, and they play it over again if you missed it, and so the two different experiences altogether. Do you play baseball? Did the Special Olympics?
Years ago I did softball. Yeah, that will actually go on for late summer, early fall. Yeah, I actually played unified softball. I don't know that we have unified anymore. I think it's just an all-athlete team now.
And what's the difference between that?
Well, they would all be just Special Olympians on the team.
Uh-huh.
But I used to play unified softball, where it was a mix of
Mm-hmm.
partners and athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have to teach everybody the rules of the game, like to go back to golf, and all the vocabulary, the mulligans.
No mulligans in Special Olympics.
No?
No. You take your shot, and if you line up for a shot and you miss the ball completely, that counts as a stroke, and your partner takes over for the next shot. So it's all done by the rules.
Yeah. A lot of eye-hand coordination.
Yes.
Same with tennis, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of our athletes are amazing. We do have athletes that are ambidextrous with a tennis racket, and they actually always have a forehand. They just shift the racket from one hand to the other.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've met a lot of interesting characters along the way.
I have.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
Do you have repeat people? I mean, people followed you for season after season after season?
Yeah, generally we have a certain same core for every sport, and then some people that drop in and drop out. They try it a year and figure out, no, I didn't really like this. This is not what I thought it would be, and they go back to what they were doing, or they try something else.
Mm-hmm.
So.
In college, in the world of higher education, part of and this is certainly true in K-12 education as well, part of the ingredients for success for the student is family support. So is there a family support network for
and that's probably one of the unique things about the Groton program. It was originally started by family members for their children, and to this day many of our athletes still live at home with their parents, and so yeah, that was one of the things that I really like, because not being from that area originally, I don't have any family in the greater New London area, and it is like a family to me. I've been invited to homes many times for events, other than Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a great community building
it is
process.
I mean, I talk to people who have left our area because they moved because of jobs and started volunteering in other programs, and I said there's really nothing like the Groton program. So.
It's good to be true. It's like being true to your school, right?
Right.
I think they must be, they're really lucky to have you as a volunteer.
Well, thank you. I really enjoy doing it.
I appreciate you coming on today to talk about it. If people are interested in volunteering for Special Olympics, would most people go to a Parks and Rec department? Or how would you find it?
They can check out their Parks and Rec department, or they can check out the Special Olympics website, soct.org.
And then there would be...
They could refer them locally to another program.
Yeah. So I hope that people will think about doing this. It sounds like a really, an important and valuable way to spend your volunteer time.
It is. And as I said before, very satisfying.
Yeah. So thank you. This is just another piece of the Middlesex Community College community, which is that everyone who works here does all kinds of other fascinating things. And there are a lot of friendships here among people who work at the college, But we also are out in the community doing really important and valuable work, and you're one of those people, so thank you for doing that. This has been the Middlesex Moments radio show, and today, once again, I've been visiting with Nancy Dolan, who is our bookstore manager. And she also volunteers for the Special Olympics out of Groton. And so I hope that you've enjoyed this program and that you'll think about volunteering in any way, shape, or form. Volunteerism is an important part of civic engagement for all of us. And Nancy's found a great path to spend our energies. So if you are interested in learning more about this college, we're available on the World Wide Web at mxcc.edu. And if you want to shop for books or college paraphernalia, our bookstore and Nancy are located in Founders Hall. So drop by because you're open all summer, right?
Yes.
We'd be happy to have some new folks come through the door and check out what we have for sale here at the college. I hope that you've enjoyed the show, and I'm also wishing you all a very good day.